Robert Durst. Today was Judgment Day for Robert Durst, sentenced by the judge. Let's take a look.
As to count one, the first-degree murder of Susan Berman, with a special circumstance of intentional killing of a witness pursuant to 190.2A10 of the Penal Code, it's the judgment and sentence of this court, Mr. Durst, that you be imprisoned in the state prison for the term prescribed by law, that is, life in prison, without the possibility of parole. As to the special allegation that the defendant intentionally killed Susan Berman by means of lying in wait, as described in 190.2A15 of the Penal Code, the same sentence is imposed and stayed pursuant to Section 654 of the Penal Code. As to the allegation that the defendant personally and intentionally used a firearm in the commission of this offense, causing great bodily injury and death, pursuant to 1202.2.53D of the California Penal Code, the court imposes a term of 25 years to life in prison consecutive.
There it is. After all these years, finally a sentence of life without the possibility of parole for Robert Durst. Joining me tonight from Los Angeles, California, editor and publisher for CrimeStory.com and the Crime Story podcast, Kathie. Kathie, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Big news out in Los Angeles. You know, I think one thing everyone noticed as we were watching the judge read the sentence was the labored breathing of Robert Durst. What was going on there? You know, is he more ill? Is he realizing the moment? Is he feigning getting sick again? What's your take on what we saw inside that courtroom?
You know, he definitely looks more frail than he did even during the latter part of the trial, Vinny. But I've always been surprised by Robert Durst. He can look terrible and still be perfectly lucid. I think we were all hoping and waiting for him to make some sort of statement at this hearing, but he made no such statement.
Maybe he doesn't want to say anything that could harm his appeal. Well, I don't know. That's a long way down the road, and we know the way the wheels of justice turn. But looking at him, I mean, to me, he looked different today than he did during that entire trial. I mean,
yeah,
markedly different.
Yeah, he's definitely more gaunt. He was slouching in his wheelchair. He was, you know, I mean, I've seen him disheveled. I haven't seen him as pale as that, and I have him, but again, you just don't know with Robert Durst. One of my colleagues, we have this podcast called Jury Duty, the trial of Robert Durst. One of my colleagues said that Robert Durst will steal the center of attention even if he's just a brain in a jar. And I think that he's getting close to being just that right now.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the victim in this case. I mean, it was a different kind of trial, right? I mean, so here we are at sentencing day, and she did have some people come into court today and speak on her behalf, right? Because
yes,
the victim, obviously in a murder trial, can't speak, but you want the victim to be real, and you want to hear from the family. And that actually happened here.
Yes, 3 of her cousins came in. I had never seen or heard these people speak before. One of them, perhaps the most affecting of the group, was Davy Berman, her cousin. I believe he's the son of Chicky Berman, Susan Berman's father's brother. And Chicky and Davy were well-known gangsters, part of Murder Inc. But Davy Berman, who is named after his uncle, spoke very movingly. He's got an Idaho kind of Midwestern accent. He was wearing suspenders and jeans, but he spoke as succinctly and as compassionately for Kathie Durst's memory, for asking Robert Durst to honor Susan's memory by telling us what happened to Kathie.
So where does this leave us now in this entire Robert Durst saga, right? This was a trial unlike any trial we've ever seen. I mean, it was
Absolutely.
between the length of it, the delay due to COVID, and then the jury watching this production put together by the prosecution, actually watching a movie during the course of the case, unlike anything we've ever seen. And then the testimony, of course, of Robert Durst. So where does this leave us now as today?
Well, where it leaves us, where it leaves us, Vinny, is that as I understand it, Westchester County is on the verge of indicting Robert Durst for the murder of Kathie McCormick Durst. I expect that that's going to happen. Now, I think that it's going to be very difficult for them to prove that case, and this is why. John Lewin, people may dispute how long he took to put the case together, how much detail he went into, but you can't argue with the success that he had. These jurors overwhelmingly voted guilty. But I would venture to guess that whether Bob Durst actually killed Kathie Durst, first-degree murder with malice and intent, or whether that was manslaughter, that would have been something that I think they would have had a hard time proving, or a hard time getting to guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And that will be the challenge for a prosecutor in New York, because the statute of limitations, as I understand it, has run on manslaughter, and the only thing that they can prosecute him for now is intentional murder. And so that's the limbo that I think this case is in. And, that's what we'll be watching for in the weeks and months ahead.
All right, Carrie Antholis joining us, crimestory.com, the Crime Story podcast, and Jury Duty as well podcast. Thanks so much, Carrie. Always great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Vinny. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's get some reaction now from our think tank joining us tonight in the Bronx, New York, criminal defense attorney Renee Hill. In Houston, Texas, criminal defense attorney Carmen Rowe. And in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney Kathie Early. Great to see everyone tonight on this Thursday, but I have to start with Carmen. Tonight. Robert Durst went down big time, life without the possibility of parole. What are you thinking about tonight? What do you think the final story that needs to be told now about Robert Durst? Because this jury did not believe him, did not believe his attorneys.
Vinny, I think he is the center of attention. I think he'll always be. This story will forever be one of the most bizarre trials we've ever seen. But, my people, he is knocking on death's door. So, it's really sad to see him in this physical state. It doesn't surprise me at all. Going through a trial like that, these lawyers are physically exhausted. But somebody who's as frail and as ill as he is, to have gone through all that, I think we're seeing the physical manifestation of all the stress and just the deflation that this verdict has to be for Robert Durst. And I think he thought he could talk his way out of this like he did here in Galveston, Texas. And unfortunately, that didn't play out for him. And I think that we are going to see an end to all of this sooner rather than later, because I just don't think his health is going to last much longer from what we see.
Renee Hill, which is sadder, the status of Robert Durst or the fact that it took this many years to get justice in the case?
Well, I think it's both. The prosecutors took such a long time, bringing this case, but maybe it really just took them that long to put it all together. And I agree with everything that Carmen said. This case is going to go down in history. He looks terrible. He reminds me of the character Mr. Mercedes in the Stephen King novel, because he looks like death just sitting there. And, that's very sad as well. But I definitely believe that this is a trial that will certainly be remembered. I think that him taking the stand was to his detriment. And I believe that he probably felt like this was his last hurrah. So why not get on the stand and just lay it all out there? It didn't go in his favor, and I think it's now starting to really take its toll on him.
Kathie, what do you think we saw when we're looking at Robert Durst today in court? Is this a guy who was going to put on a show, I'm just a frail man, and that's the way he wanted to leave it? Or do you think he's legitimately understanding where he is right now. He's a convicted murderer who will never, ever, ever get out of prison.
He was putting on a show. If you notice, he was slouching in his wheelchair. He looked frail. He looked like he was dying. At one point, he's gasping for air. And then after his sentence was pronounced, he sat up in his chair. And, you know, it's unfortunate because I truly believe that he does not have a repentful heart. And he knows where Kathleen is. And I believe that possibly maybe he should just repent and just clean his heart and, you know, take his last breath in dignity and peace. But he's definitely put it on a show to the very end.
Unbelievable. I want to take a listen. And Carrie described it so eloquently. Here's Davy Berman, Susan Berman's cousin, making one of the victim impact statements today.
He should let us know where Kathie's body is so her family can get some closure.
How about that? To me, I don't see Robert Durst ever doing that, ever admitting anything. But do you think there could be a change of heart knowing he's never leaving prison, Carmen Rowe, that maybe he'll at least release that information?
Never. Not with this narcissist. I don't think there's any way. I mean, he's going to go down swinging. They're going to appeal. He's going to keep fighting as long as he can. And there is no way that, one, he expresses any remorse for any of his actions in any of this, but he maintains his status in the center of attention as long as he has that information. And I think he dies with every bit of that information, including all the secrets around the death of Kathie. And I think it's unfortunate and sad for the family, but I don't think we will ever hear him admit to anything, certainly not tell us where the body is.